Tonight our program will be in English. Para interpretación en español, oprime el botón del globo abajo en el panel y oprima la opción para español o Spanish y escuchen la voz de Verónica Gutiérrez. Muchas gracias, Verónica, por ayudarnos para tener interpretación simultánea en español. Hello, everybody. Buenas noches. Welcome to DALI Fellows 2020, a year in review panel discussion and DALI Fellows Art Exhibition. Tonight, you will have a chance to meet the inaugural class of fellows, experience some of their artwork, and ask them questions about their work or about the discussion this evening. I'm Lizette Cruz-Watco, founder and board member emeritus of Diamante Arts and Cultural Center. Diamante is the oldest Latino arts and culture organization in North Carolina. It is dedicated to the preservation, development, and promotion of the culture, heritage, and artistic expressions of the diverse Latino, Hispanic, Latinx community in our state. In 2019, Diamante introduced a new program called the Diamante Arts Leadership Institute. We call it DALI. It's a year-long program in arts capacity building and leadership development. The program was created to meet the needs of Latino, Hispanic, and Latinx art professionals in North Carolina. DALI cultivates an inclusive cultural space that provides artists, arts managers, and cultural promoters the support and knowledge to prepare creative, strategic, and nimble cultural leaders. Before we move on, I want to thank NALAC for letting us use their program to build our program. And we used it as a guide, but improved it for North Carolina. I also want to thank the United Arts Council and the North Carolina Arts Council for their support, as well as the many donors who made donations in order for Diamante to get DALI off the ground. The inaugural class of Diamante Arts Leadership Institute, or DALI, are, and fellows, when I say your name, can you please say hello so everybody can see you out there? We're going to start with Antonio from Durham, North Carolina.
Hello, everyone.
Carolina Corona from Winston, Salem, North Carolina.
Hello, good night, everyone.
Zuleyma Castrejón Salinas from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hi, everyone.
And we have Ernesto Hernandez, also from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hola, ¿cómo están?
And we have Peter Marin from Raleigh, North Carolina. It's Peter's not on yet. Okay, he's trying. And we have, last but not least, Gustavo Schmidt, also from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hello, everyone. Hola a todos.
Georges Le Chevalier from Gardner, North Carolina. One of the goals of DALI is for the cohorts to create a collaborative project as part of their fellowship year. The pandemic made this goal a challenge, but one that the fellows were able to work around by sitting for this panel discussion and art exhibition. To kick things off, let's begin by viewing the DALI Fellows Art Exhibition. It'll be a couple of minutes. Each artist submitted art that they created during the pandemic fellowship year. righty. So now you've seen the art. I think it was beautiful. Now the video is a little fast when it comes to the bios, but it's going to be up, so you're more than welcome to watch it later. Thank you guys. That was beautiful. It's a great example representation of the talent of Latino artists we have here in our state. Thank you, fellows. Oh, the video will be in the Diamante Arts and Cultural social media and YouTube channels after this evening. When the idea surged to create the fellowship program for Latinos in North Carolina, the first person I called was my friend Fiorella Hernandez. You see, Fiorella and I are the only two NALAC fellows in North Carolina. She is part of the core faculty of DALI and has served as a guide to the fellows. Fiorella, can you say something briefly about your experience and also introduce our moderator this evening?
Definitely. Thank you, everyone. And congratulations to all the fellows for the great work that they're doing and for really being there to represent Latino art and artists in North Carolina. As Lisette said, when we first came up with that, we need to bring the Leadership Institute to North Carolina. It was because what NALAC was providing many of us, arts organizations and artists, was an opportunity to really develop our skills so that we could be eligible for grants and opportunities, or to be highlighted in platforms where Latino artists weren't usually represented, and especially to represent the Latino experience through the arts. And so that was the reason why we said this has to come to North Carolina. And we saw a lot of growing artists out there. And so we are very thankful, to the United Arts organizations and other arts funders who really made it happen. And as we saw it unfolding, we're like, I can't believe it's happening. So it's really exciting to see us here. We've learned a lot from this year, and I know that we will learn more from the fellows as we move into the next phase of the second group of fellows that will follow. So we will learn from our first fellows and engage them as well. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Zoe Van Buren. She is the Folk Life Director of the North Carolina Arts Council, where she administers programs and projects that support North Carolina's local communities and their living cultural traditions. She strives to connect artists with resources across the state. She has worked with folk life programs and festivals in Massachusetts, New York, West Virginia, and North Carolina, and received her MA in folklore from UNC Chapel Hill. It is our pleasure to introduce to you Zoe and to hear her remarks. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Fiorella. Thank you, Lizette. Hi, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. When Lizette asked if I wouldn't mind joining you as a moderator, I didn't hesitate at all to know I wanted to be part of this conversation. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the inaugural reception for the DALI Fellows way back in the before times, which feels incredibly long ago now. And it is sort of apparent to me from your work, from the presentation, that so much has grown and so much has developed in that time. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all. I have questions which I will pose to each person in the group, but if anybody would like to, if a question really speaks to you and you'd like to chime in there as well, please don't hesitate to raise your hand and join in that conversation. I'd like to begin by just asking you about the fellowship itself. And Ernesto, I might start with you on this one. Would you describe for us what the DALI Fellowship offered you over the past, it was more than a year, wasn't it? And in this time of so many changes, how being a part of this group influenced your experience of the past year?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And thanks for joining us and helping with this process today. So we thank you for your time. For me, it's been a learning process. Although I've been an artist for many, many years, I didn't know a lot of the things that I know now because of DALI. Not only from the experiences from our mentors from the top, but also from each individual artist that's with us today. They've taught me a lot of things. We've shared ideas with each other, and we've communicated through Facebook messages, through emails with each other about ideas. And hey, what do you think about this? Hey, I'm making a website. Can you help me with this? So more than anything, aside from learning about the experience of what it takes to be a fellow, I think the most important thing that I've learned was having a brotherhood, a sisterhood of artists that are like-minded, who are not only immigrants, but also have a desire to be in a community through their work, through their personal experiences, and each one of us kind of brought that to the table and made us stronger and better.
I'd like to give anyone else a chance to respond to that same question if you would like to.
Okay, I can jump in, right? Well, I mean, the same thing for me was, the amount of information that we got, it was unbelievable. I mean, I could not believe the many things that you have to take in consideration as an artist and trying to develop something for you. I mean, trying to get, from developing a business plan for grant writing, which I find out very easily and very quickly that I'm not good at that. But in my case, it was very fascinating to learn about the copyright subject because, as a dancer, as an actor, to me, that was very important to know, okay, what is protected, what is not protected. And I was very surprising to me the amount of things that are not protected. And then for me, being also an immigrant and trying to expose our culture, I was able to find out that really certain plays you can, with the right steps, you can translate it into, like a Spanish if it's in English or anything like that. So to me, that was so valuable. But again, just like my fellow participant and my friend, which I can call now everybody my friend, the experience of the friendship and the development of all these artists together is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I can tell you that the experience of friendship and the new friends that I have created with this wonderful program of DALI is, is priceless.
I'd like to jump in, Zoe.
Yeah, Antonio.
So this question is so complex for me because I gained so much from this experience at DALI. One, I want to say that professional development, and I echo what Gustavo has said. The mentorship that we have received from the teachers, from Fiorella, from Lisette, and from all the people who have been invited to the seminars have been just invaluable, priceless to me. And also the group of friends that I've gained. I find that the DALI Fellowship has created a foundation for a network of individuals of Latinx artists who will continue to create the infrastructure to further create visibility about our artwork and our experience here in the South. And I just like how the arts are booming in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. And I just can't imagine how this new fellowship, the fellowship will continue to evolve as well and just create more impact to all the artists out there. So whoever's coming for the second cohort, you all will learn a lot.
Thank you all. We're joined by Peter Marin of Raleigh, North Carolina, too, so I wanted to make sure we had a chance to properly welcome and introduce him. Peter, I might pose this next question to you. It's sort of similar to what Antonio was just getting into. The presentation of this group's work alone, I think, is evidence that this term, Latinx arts, is a vast and diverse term that holds a lot in it. And I'm wondering, what does that identity mean to you? How did this time in the fellowship shape that identity or your relationship to the Latinx arts community in North Carolina specifically?
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. I had some technical difficulties, but they're a thing of the past now. um, Thank you for the question. How has this shaped or influenced my position as a Latino artist in North Carolina? Um, DALI offers an opportunity for artists of different practices and different tendencies to actually be in a fraternity, or I should say not fraternity, in a group, in a fellowship where we can be aware of each other, support each other, and understand that as Latinos, we are multifaceted. And so to be in cohorts with these understandings and creatives strengthens our community. It allows us to be visible to each other, and it allows us to share information with each other, which is very important because, we have each other's best interests in mind. So I think that this program really has allowed those ideas to come into full exposure and to be put to test and to see effectively that they are a positive addition to our community, a positive context to our community. In the year of the pandemic, DALI really has supplemented the online general community with options for art or options for food and dance. They have made sure that a lot of their efforts, our efforts really, but a lot of Diamante's efforts were put towards making sure that our community was protected, reminded of the facts, and offered masks on a regular basis. And so being part of a mobilization where none of us expected to have a pandemic and to have remained together and weathered that storm, I think is quite significant, but also quite telling of the group that that I'm happily part of, and that is this inaugural DALI Fellow.
Thank you, Peter. George, I might pose the same question to you, how participation in this fellowship has influenced you, but also influenced your sort of position in or view of the Latinx arts community here.
Well, I think for me, the most important part of being part of this group is to share with other Latinx artists. And our styles are extremely different. We have a dancer, we have abstract artists, we have different genders, different ages. But what I think was interesting was that we were in the same room, and even though we were coming from different places, we were sharing the same basic experience. And as an artist, sometimes it gets a little lonely because everything you do is on your own brain, and you go to your studio and you're by yourself. And even then, as a Latinx artist being in the US, sometimes I'd be surrounded by people that didn't have the same experiences. What DALI did, it allowed us to have a certain amount of really talented artists in the same room talking. And a lot of times we didn't talk about art, we just talk about things in general, which is okay. I think it's great, as a matter of fact. Also, being the first time that this award was given, and also starting in a room full of people and ending up in a little closet talking to a camera and a microphone, I think was historical. I think the times were historical. I think, again, I'm extremely proud of being part of this group just because of what happened artistically, but also socially, culturally, historically. And again, it was the worst of times. but it was the best of times. So I'm really glad to be part of this group.
Thank you. Carolina, my next question is for you. This year that you have spent as a DALI Fellow has been a time, as George sort of alluded to, when I think a lot of us have begun to think differently about the world around us. Maybe, I think for some of us, we've had time to find new relationships with our environment, our families. I'm wondering, what are major themes or ideas that have moved you as an artist during this past year?
Hi, Zoe. Thank you for being here and thank you for the question. My work is mainly focused on nature and my love for nature and my drive and to conserve it and preserve it and take care of it and encourage other people to also appreciate, enjoy, and protect the environment. So that's a recurring theme throughout my work. This year, because I believe a lot of people found peace outdoors, just because we couldn't be around a lot of people, it encouraged more people to go out and explore nature. So my main focus was that through this year, just being outdoors and looking at specifically native species of plants in North Carolina. So some of the pieces that you saw on the exhibition video that Lisa prepared are mainly focused on that. So I have spent a lot of time volunteering at a local garden, which specializes in reproducing and taking care of native species. And flowers such as trillium is one of my favorites, and that one showed up in some of my work. It's such a unique flower. And with everything that was going on with the pandemic and other issues as well that affected all of us, I felt so at peace and so happy to be outdoors focusing on this beautiful flower and in harvesting the earth and just getting my hands in the soil. And also another thing that I did is I created a series of videos, and it's still ongoing, for nature journaling to encourage people to go outdoors and also start doing some artwork inspired by nature. And it's no experience needed. You don't have to be an artist to do it. And that was another focus of mine, to get more people to go outside and, forget about stress and anxiety caused by the pandemic and other issues that people have, already adding to that stress. Spending time outdoors and focusing on something so beautiful, so delicate, really brings joy to me. And I want to share that with others. In addition, I was doing some work with the coral reefs. I watched a lot of documentaries, time not spent outdoors. I spent inside watching videos, movies, and I watched a lot of nature documentaries and of species and areas of the world that are in danger, including the coral reefs. So that's another piece that I wanted to do to bring awareness to this type of issue.
Very well said. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Antonio, you spoke a little bit about this earlier. Similarly over the last year, what have been some changes that you've experienced either professionally or how has that shown up in your art itself?
Yes, thank you, Zoe. When I think about this question, I think about DALI being a timeline in my life. It's a crucial point in my professional career as an artist and as an individual. I remember coming to DALI with many questions, many curiosities, and many unanswered thoughts that I had about art, specifically how to navigate myself professionally and most importantly as an artist, right? So with all the opportunities that we had to share ideas, to sit and talk specifically on the opening day of the DALI Fellowship. It was just a way for me to know and begin to answer many of those questions. I haven't answered them fully because, these are questions that are, I guess, larger than life, questions that people have had for centuries. But what I have found from this fellowship is it has allowed me to get closer to the answers that I'm looking for, particularly around how to create a network of individuals who can work together towards a common goal through the arts, right? So that for me has been crucial, as I always look for fusing my artivism and my art career, and working with Lisette through the Comparte program, through creating, similar to Carolina, an artistic experience of teaching people how to paint a butterfly that I have. Just using my artistic practice to bring more awareness, again, grounding ourselves through a very hard time, such as the pandemic, using the arts as a relaxation and a therapeutic way of reminding us that, it hasn't been okay for everyone, but at least to give us some hope and some peace that despite the adversity that we're going through humanity, there's still a hope that we will get through it. So for me, using the arts was more of using it and that way as a vehicle to get closer to that assurance that everything will be okay. But other than that, additionally to that, I just want to say that it's been a very important chapter in my career. Later, was for me as an artist, and also just getting more work and getting commissions and looking at the artist career as a possibility, as becoming a full-time artist, becoming possibility, and also looking at the arts as an entrepreneurship spirit as well, because a lot of that is also the business aspect of it, how to market oneself, how to create and find one's voice and creating the product that we want to do, and also more importantly, how to network, how to apply for grants. All that knowledge I continue to bring in to my career. I'm just thankful for this.
Zuleyma, there are so many aspects of being an artist that have been touched on, from the inspiration to the business end of it. And then at the end of the day, an artist just has to show up and do their work and make time for their work. Among all of the distractions and the challenges of the past year, but also of just sort of making it in life, what sustained your work this year, and how does one keep up a consistent art practice, especially when there's so many unknowns?
Yeah, so for me, definitely this past year was challenging, and I lost my job at an art nonprofit during the pandemic. So being without employment for some time actually pushed me to re-fall in love with my art making practice and rediscover things that I wanted to explore but maybe didn't have time to explore before with a heavy, crazy schedule. I got to explore. So I got into making resin jewelry. I got into getting really weird and experimental with the way I create. And I worked a lot with, right before the pandemic, I worked a lot with preschoolers and with young children. And we do this thing with them, which is very, very easy for young artists to do, where we create painted paper. So during summer camps or during classes, we would just give them paint, and their job was to cover the entire page in paint. And then after that painted paper dried, we would then take that paper and transform it collaboratively into something else. So we would make, we've made giant sculptural pieces with the printed and painted paper. and we've collaged with it, we've drawn on top of it, we print make on top of it, we do all kinds of stuff with them. So I thought it would be interesting to take this very elementary way of making art into my practice and elevate it. So I've been using it a lot in my artwork. Two of the pieces actually that were in the video, my self-portrait, was a lot of painted paper. So some of it was just drawn and painted on the actual paper itself that the artwork is on, and other aspects were collage. So some of the, I think, like my hair was all painted paper. It was actually a painted paper towel that I painted and I saved and I chopped up and Mod Podge it and made my hair. And then with the second piece that had the little bird, Witness, that the bird was also made out of painted paper. And so I've been using this time to try to create space for maintaining an art practice. So I find that it's very easy for me to sit down and paint paper, because it's something I can do for a few minutes, maybe a couple times a week or a day or whatever, however my schedule is, because I'm always doing something. And then whenever I have that piece completely covered, I transform it into something else. I also did some painted paper and made a piñata, and I taught some piñata workshops. I've been teaching workshops. I've been doing a little bit of everything, but the painted paper is how I keep my practice going. Just finding those small things that I can do for a short period of time that will add up to something bigger.
Yes, absolutely. Gustavo, before we had our panel today, Lizette was able to share with me some ideas and themes that the fellows might be interested in speaking on, and you had a question that jumped right out at me. You asked, what do you fear as an artist? And I wanted to hear more from you on that. What fears and challenges did arise this year, but also then what hopes do you have?
Well, thank you, Zoe, for the question and for being here. I posed that question because I think many times as an artist, you try to portray, you try to show your art, you try to get all those ideas that you have in your brain, and you try to project it in the positive way and in the best unoffensive way of anybody. But sometimes I think, artists are misunderstood and in, certain ways, because of the fact that you're trying to really, really show the world what you are made of and what you want to do. But then again, what is that right way with so many restrictions these days in society, with everything else that is going on around us? As a Latinx artist too, we always have, a stigma sometimes of that we supposed to portray certain characters. In my case, as an actor and as a dancer, I portray, again, my very first play actually was portraying a Mexican person coming through the desert, becoming to United States illegally. So it is, again, that fear that we all have, I think, or well, I guess in my case, that sometimes I want to really show the world the other side of us, the other side of, what we have to offer. And at the same time, you have to think about also not offending anybody and not stepping in anybody's toes. And then that's when it becomes very complicated and it becomes challenging, and all the research that has to come behind what you're gonna do and where you're getting ready to do. So, but I have overcome a lot of that, a lot of those fears, by being myself, being who I am, no regrets, like we say in life, and And I have to actually, I kept something for my very first day in our fellowship. And I just would like to share really quickly with you guys, because I think you all described me on this piece of paper that during this pandemic, I thought, and I look at it, and I think you guys were right. The very first one, you said that I was fun and energetic. Well, I found out that through this pandemic, I tried to be fun and energetic, and all those individuals that I found kind of depressed and down, I tried to lift them up and tell them, I say, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna get out of this, let's keep on going. So the other one was honesto, which means honest. I think, again, like I said before, I've been very honest with myself and accept who I am, but at the same time, I thought about it and I said, okay, I was able to be honest with me and everybody else around me to tell them what I can do and what I cannot do for them or for the arts at a certain given time. Unafraid. I have to admit that even during this COVID, I was afraid, but unafraid to show support to these different kind of demonstrations that we have this past year for all the injustice and all the how far we have to go. So I just felt like I needed to be there. So I was unafraid to be there, but I was very careful, believe me. So colorful. Well, I have to say that, yes, I am. As you see my shirt, this is one of our outfits from Panama called Montuno. But I actually, with the mask, I have my Mickey mask, a very colorful mask. I made this one. And again, pride. And so I had a, visionary. The visionary part of me was how to create things for my group, for my Panamanian group. I have been able to come up with new dances, new outfits. As a matter of fact, you saw me, I'm show and tell. You saw me wearing this mask. Well, I was able to order another one for another complete different dance. So I've been able to obtain things and gather different kind of outfits for my performance. And the community oriented, well, I think I did my job trying to get everybody to wear a mask, educated, people that didn't know English very well. I was able to give them phone numbers, where to go, where to get masks. And as a matter of fact, I helped also, probably I can tell you, Diamante too, with my job. I found and I got some donation of money to be able to buy masks for those people that didn't have masks. So I just wanna say that, the pandemic has really taught me and has reconnected me again with all these adjectives that you guys use for me. I see them now in a different light, but they all mean a lot more to me. So thank you for your kind words, everyone that wrote this the first day.
Thank you, Gustavo. Those masks are fabulous. I'm so glad we could see them.
Thanks.
I would like to end with just one simple question, which anybody can take, whoever feels moved to answer it. I'd like to end with any words of encouragement or advice or recommendation for any other artists who may hear this conversation and be interested in joining the DALI Fellowship Program. Whatever you would like to offer to other people who may want to follow in your footsteps.
I have some advice, and some of this advice is advice that I got from actually my professors in college that I feel like have really helped me and especially guided me this past year. So my first piece of advice is say yes to things. I have a lot of fear and anxiety about saying yes to a lot of things, but this past year I was really encouraged to just say yes, and then I'll figure out the logistics after that. So if somebody wants me to do a painting of a certain thing that I don't really like to do, I'll say yes, and then I'll do it, and it'll be fine. And say yes to parties now that we're about to, be able to be back into parties. And I'm not much of a party person unless it's a family party. But I've learned that it is at parties or places where, there are a lot of like-minded individuals where I make most of my connections with different artists, with different organizations. And that's how I have received many of my opportunities, is just by knowing people and by people knowing the work that I do. Like recently, I was invited to join the education committee for a gallery here in Charlotte, which I think is pretty exciting. So I'm excited about that. And my last piece of advice is don't just depend on inspiration to create work, because doctors don't wait to be inspired to treat their patients. So artists shouldn't wait to be inspired to make work. So if an opportunity comes my way, I will say yes, unless I'm completely overwhelmed. And I don't wait for the inspiration to hit me, because I know that I can produce what is being asked, and I know that I can do it and recreate it and take this, because that was one piece of advice that really stuck with me, and it's opened so many doors for me, because I can't just say, oh, I can't join this because I'm not inspired to create a piece. So that's my 2 words of encouragement for my artists. Say yes and don't wait for inspiration to hit you.
Peter.
My advice, and this is advice I give to my students regularly, and it's advice that comes from my own practice. It is make work in good and bad times. Making art is not about celebrating all the time. It's about what needs to get done. And this year is a perfect example of what happens when you keep on making art. So if times are good, make art. If times are bad, make art.
Very well put. Gustavo.
I think my advice will be, like I said, the opposite of my question. Be unafraid. Completely unafraid of your art. Art is art. And if you have a passion for something, do it. Do it no matter what. Look at where we are. We have come a long way. I have been in North Carolina for a long, long time, and I have seen the changes. And I think we have a lot more to go. But again, if you are unafraid and you are presenting your art and you stick with it, just do it. So be unafraid.
I also have some advice. My advice to artists would be to be yourself and don't let others dictate your artwork. I think that nowadays a lot of people expect Latin artists to fit a certain mold and create art that is very similar to each other and specific. But I want to say, that if your artwork is different to what people expect of you because of who you are, where you're from, stick with it and do what you love.
That is a wonderful note to end on, unless anybody else would like to offer anything before I return the call to Lizette.
I'll say something about the Diamante Fellowship. If you're an artist, apply, because it's a great opportunity. But with that said, sometimes the term art can be a big thing. Humans are creative. I have so many people that tell me I'm not an artist. But being human means that you're creative. And this goes not only for painting, but if you're a business person and you like to cook, that's creativity. Just be creative. Makes you a better person. Do your thing. There's going to be haters and there's going to be people that are fake and they're going to like it. Don't worry what people say. Be creative. Just cook, paint, sing in the shower. I don't care. But don't worry about other people, because again, there's mean people, there's bitter people, there's beautiful people, and all of them are going to have a different opinion. Just just spend time during the day doing something positive, be creative, and help other people. And if you do it right, it will be known as art. And if you do it wrong, who cares, because you're still enjoying it. So that's all I have to say.
That's so great. Antonio, yeah.
So I have two words of advice. One, express yourself. The arts are there for you. And the second one would be reflect on society's perceptions of being an artist, right? So look into the semantics of what an artist is. Discard assumptions about what an artist is and define what an artist is to you, and define what success means to you as an artist.
If any folks in the audience have Q&A questions you'd like to pose to the panel as well, please feel free to share them and we can read them out loud. Otherwise, I would like to thank you all for welcoming me and having me as part of this conversation. It was really a treat to speak with you all, especially having caught a glimpse of the beginning of this journey to see where it has ended. This is an important program, and I am really grateful we have it in our state. And I want to thank Fiorella and Lizette and all of the folks at the Diamante Arts and Cultural Center for gathering us here today.
I think, let's see, I'm not Latinx, but I'm an artist, and I didn't know that there was an arts fellowship with communities like this. Thank you all so much for starting this possibility. I'm so excited to find fellowships. Well, that was Beth. Thank you, Beth, for that comment. Anybody want to add to her comment in any way or answer? No?
Just want to say thank you, Beth, for joining in, and I wish you the best of luck finding some fellowships that can help you develop your artistic talents and your knowledge of the business.
Lizette and Fiorella, maybe if you want to speak a little bit more about how you created this fellowship. I mean, I'm sure this is something that was challenging, but other people can do for their communities.
Yeah, it definitely has been a challenge. I think this group of fellows were very brave to take part in something historic like this, and for us to really make a difference in the arts community in North Carolina, and give the artists a tool to help them make waves also, to feel more included in the arts community. I think we tend to feel like we're an outsider sometimes, but I'm hoping that this will encourage artists to feel like they're just as capable of any other artists out there, and can go to an organization, serve on a board, or make their practice more profitable in a way that is meaningful and in the community. This program, the reason it began, and I asked NALAC to let us mold it to our needs here in North Carolina, was that I felt that the NALAC fellowship is wonderful, but it's also super, super expensive. And it takes travel and a lot of money. And I didn't think that everybody could do that. And not having so many resources to be able to fund artists to be able to participate in the LALAC Fellowship, we thought it was appropriate to create something similar in vein to that of NALAC, although ours is a year long and we require a collaborative project at the end, which I think is unique. and that I think creates a sense of familia among the family or togetherness or with the fellows. What do you think, Fiorella?
No, I agree. I think that, like Lisette said, I applaud every one of the fellows who are pioneers in making this happen. Obviously, when Lisette and I sat down and said, okay, what does this look like? We had both gone through the experience of the Art Leadership Institute, and we could see from there the things that would definitely benefit Latino artists in this area. But we also know some things didn't quite relate. And I think one of the things that Carolina said so well, and I was like, in this moment, I'm glad we're recording because I want to take that little piece, is that part of the institute that NALAC had does sort of speak to a particular type of artist, right? This idea that you develop art in certain ways because you're Latino. And what I love about this group is that they contested that, right? They said, wait a minute, I'm an artist. I happen to be Latina, Latino, or identify as such, but that doesn't mean that all of my art has to represent just Latino life experiences or just things of that nature. However, what they did have in common is some of those cultural values and beliefs that molded them into the individuals they are today. So that sense of community, right? The love of nature, the sense of family, the passion for things, the way they draw, the way they paint, the way they dance, the way they create around food, around family. I mean, those are values that are very much ingrained into the Latino culture, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like, I'm gonna paint a tamale, right? So, you know, and a tamale is viewed of one group of cultural experience, and it might not be an El Salvadorian or a Brazilian or Panamanian or Cuban or a Puerto Rican or a US born Latino, right? Experience. And so I think that that's something that was challenging, you know, for Lisette and I to say, how do you really embrace the diversity of the Latino artists in North Carolina, and to really provide a platform where they can be themselves, but also be able to come together as a community. And it's beautiful to see that part of it worked. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. We're all learning. And then the pandemic hit in the middle of that sort of collective project. And I know that, oh my gosh, we're thankful to them because they stuck with it. But I think that there's still much more that we can do. And now this is a group, like Lisette said, that is making new paths, right? Each one of them, each one of you are taking a way and bringing another artist along, right? And that's something that we need to continue to do. The reality is that there are still inequities in the arts, right? That the fact that we're called Latino artists right there, right, represent that there is a difference. And so how can an artist be valued for their art and their work, but yet be given the equal opportunities that others have, access to funding, access to venues, access to platforms, professional development, grants, you know, all that is part of what is still to do. And the other thing I want to say is that, you know, I know for myself, toward the end of that last part of the fellowship, I was pulled into the pandemic. And so I literally say I was into this pandemic vacuum. But what I saw in the peripheral view was everything else was happening, is that when the world was sort of in this, what's happening, you know, with COVID-19, who were the first responders? We hear about, you know, the doctors and the nurses. We hear about those people that were in the stores and everything else, making life still happen. But it was the artists who kept the life and heart of our community alive, and sort of forgetting for a moment that we were clustered into the indoors. I mean, I watched, you know, Antonio do this. This is how to paint, you know, that kind of thing. And a lot of it is because, like, I didn't want to know about any other pandemic things ever again. But, you know, so I think that we forget that artists are very much a part of our lives. And art is sort of put out there into this other realm of the nice to do, are limited to certain people with money or resources. But in reality, it is part of our mental health. It is part of our very essence of who we are. And so I think that COVID showed the world that when everything went crazy, artists stepped forward and created some kind of normal for people that were in lockdown. So I want to applaud them for being those that created some kind of normalcy in a time that was so unsure. So thank you to the artists for all of your work and for sticking to it. And I know that Lisette and I are so committed to continue. And, you know, the fellowship may have ended, but that doesn't mean that we end relationships. We will continue to promote and support and find opportunities for you as the year rolls out.
And I want to close by saying thank you to Zoe, for leading the fellows into this conversation. Your help in getting the program together was invaluable. And for putting up with when we were learning all day how to use this new service of interpretation. Thank you. I also want to thank Diamante board member Veronica Gutierrez for helping us with the interpretation. Thank you very much. You couldn't hear her unless you were clicked on the Spanish. I also want to thank you guys, the fellows, for the dialogue and for the chance to get to know you better. With this, it is a weird way of getting to know each other, but we did learn a lot from you and what you learned about the program too. You have made history here. You have made Diamante a better organization with your participation and your support. And I hope that your experience through DALI will make you a better arts and cultural promoter in the community. Thank you for helping me with Comparte, with pandemic classes, with interviews, your exhibition. And all these things will live online for perpetuity, including the program. Thank you so much, Fiorella, for your support and your help. And thank you very much, everybody, for participating tonight.
And to you,
thank you for the opportunity.
And passion.
Well, I just want to let everybody know, if you are interested in the DALI Fellowship, send me an email at dali@diamanteinc.org, or just go to Diamante's webpage at diamanteartsculturalcenter.org or diamanteinc.org, either way, and go to DALI. And you can get information on how to become a fellow. Applications are due by July the 1st of this year, and the program will begin again in August. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight and for joining us. Let's see. Oh, some people are saying love you and all that. So thank you so much, guys. I hope that you will continue to be active in DALI in other ways, and that this experience will last your life.
Thank you, Lisette. Everyone.
Thank you, Lisette, and everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Buenas noches.
Good night.
Good night, honey.